Happy Monday. Welcome to another show of 360 Sports, NFL edition. I'm Harlyn, Pena, Hailey, Izzy, Jenna. Let's get into it. So, the Vikings lost yesterday. That means the Chiefs are officially the only undefeated team left. Patrick Mahomes has looked not as great as he's been in the past. Only 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. What is your opinion? Do you think the NFL is wide open for Super Bowl runs, or do you think the Chiefs are always going to be favored?
I would think, okay, so Patrick Mahomes is quite literally on the start of his worst season that he's had as a starter. He's on track for least number of touchdowns, most number of interceptions, lowest QBR, but one person does not determine the way a team's playoff run can turn out. I mean, this team doesn't look extremely good, but in my opinion, like Brady did in past years, you can't count out Mahomes at this rate. I think that you're still going to see the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, I agree. So he can't, just because he's bad right now, they just have to make it to the playoffs. We've seen Patrick Mahomes before in the past. When he gets into the playoffs, he's a different player. He's completely different. He plays different. So right now, I think their defense is carrying them, because we also can see that they don't really have their top wide receivers right now, and they also have Travis Kelce. He's aged about 5 years in this 1 year. So I'm not saying that's anybody's fault though, but so that's an issue. So I feel like if the defense can just carry them to the playoffs, the postseason, they I think he will get better, and I think they should be the favorites still, because they are the only undefeated team right now, and with where the season's at, I think that's a good stat to have, because even though he's playing not good, they're still undefeated. So with him playing this bad and them being undefeated, I think that says a lot about them.
So you talk about the team being undefeated, but the Chiefs are not blowing out the teams they're playing, and the teams they're playing aren't the greatest teams in the league. You look at the scores of each game, and they're within probably about 10 points most games, so they're not blowing teams out. And I know you mentioned that a team isn't defined by just one person, one player, but I think when your quarterback's Patrick Mahomes and he's the person that is defining your team, I think it is a little different, because he decides how the game's going to go a lot of the time. And so honestly, the Chiefs find a way to do everything. They're always finding a way to win. I do see them making the playoffs, obviously, and I see them potentially going to the Super Bowl, but I don't think they're having nearly as good as a year that they've had in the past. And so I think they're a team to kind of look out for. They're definitely beatable, I think, and I think the playoffs are 100% wide open.
Yeah, it pains me to think they can make it to the playoffs, even Patrick Mahomes not playing as good. I think they're always going to be the favorite with the storyline of the 3P, or Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. The NFL loves those storylines. I think it's pretty interesting, the stat I was looking up. If we look past prior seasons of the last undefeated teams, 2023, the 49ers were 5-0, they lost in the Super Bowl. 2022, the Eagles were 8-0, they lost in the Super Bowl. So maybe the Chiefs might make it to the Super Bowl, but then follow this path, which I think was pretty interesting.
I didn't know that stat, so that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And so now let's go back to last night, Sunday Night Football. The Steelers started Russell Wilson over Justin Fields last night, and they picked up a convincing win against the now 2-5 Jets. Devontae Adams just got traded the past week, but he didn't make much of a difference because they still look lost. So what are your thoughts on the Jets situation and the QB situation in the Steelers?
Justin Fields is obviously a solid quarterback, but he's still young, and at the end of the day, Russell Wilson has the experience that the Steelers are going to need to keep this offense moving to lead them into the playoffs. And the Steelers have Harris's run game, they have Freiermuth, they have Pickens, who are both solid receivers. But the question is, will Wilson be able to continue the Steelers' run at the top of the AFC North? And we're going to see that play out in the coming games. But in terms of the Jets, they need to clean up their offense. Rodgers and Adams, everybody's happy to have them back, obviously. I mean, they're a great duo, and when they were in Green Bay. But this offense needs to find a way to connect and put up the points, because in the last 3 games, they've played better teams, but no one this far is unbeatable. So next week, they're going to play a struggling Patriots team. So I think they need to win that game, get the win, feel a little bit better about themselves, and then readjust to see where they'll land in playoff contention.
Yeah, I agree. Adams did come in midweek, so that's a hard adjustment to get, just hopping in right into a new team and then trying to win that game. So that is a hard adjustment. But it's also, they do need to get their running game going. And it is more obvious that the coach they fired, that was not the issue. They wanted to put the blame on their coach, and that was not the issue. Now he's sitting at home, making money, he's fine, and they're still losing. So there's obviously an issue here, and it could be their quarterback. Like, I don't want to say it, but I will say it because I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Rodgers, so it could be their quarterback. He's not doing he's literally putting up the same exact stats as
Zach Wilson,
Zach
right?
Wilson, yes. Who everybody hated last year. And I don't know, people are not as much mean to as Aaron Rodgers as they were to Zach Wilson, who's still coming out, still being new. And in Pittsburgh, the situation there, I feel like they did take a big gamble with putting in Russell instead of Fields. But he showed he can expand the field with his deep throw balls. But they did make the right decision with that convincing win they had over the Jets. But again, Jets are not the best team. They're not that good. And I don't know. It seems like, and at the end of the day, the quarterback has to come in and not make the mistakes. That's the issue that people have.
Yeah, I think Aaron Rodgers is making a lot of stupid mistakes. You talk about that. I think the Russell Wilson change, I think that was really smart. I think it was the right decision. He's got great chemistry with the wide receivers. I know if you watched the game last night, you saw George Pickens. He went off, just insane catches, and Russell was able to put that ball right in his hands. And Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers, I'm convinced they don't have the same chemistry anymore. I think Aaron Rodgers is washed. I'll say it. I think he's washed.
Hot take.
I don't even think it's a hot take. No. He is washed. I will say it. But the Jets shouldn't have fired Saleh midseason. I think that was so stupid. If they thought that was going to change anything, this was their chance to prove that it was going to change something. You're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, huge game, Sunday Night Football. This was your chance to kind of turn your season around after getting Davante Adams last week. And it didn't happen. And you didn't even really see Davante Adams. He was nowhere to be found. Sure. Don't get me started on that. But I just think their chemistry's over. The media will hype it up. They can hype it up all they want. I don't think they're the same players they once were. Even Davante Adams, I don't think he's an insane receiver. I don't think he's the same person he was years ago. But I think the Jets do have good weapons. I think you look at their team overall, and I think they've got some good weapons, but it's not fitting together. Something's not right. I'm going to go and blame it on Aaron Rodgers because of the stupid mistakes he's making right now in the season. This
was supposed to be the game to shut everyone up about Rodgers and Davante Adams. They were supposed to come out here slinging, and they just didn't. Mm-hmm. And I want to talk about the QB situation. Justin Fields was playing solid football. He was not named the starter, but then he got the starting job, and he was playing good enough. They led the Steelers to a great record so far. Mm-hmm. And I think it takes Mike Tomlin some confidence to switch out your QB. Mm-hmm. Justin Fields earned your team 4 wins. Mm-hmm. And for you to just switch him out like that, just because you want to see what happens, and I'm sure there was days of talk about it, it takes balls. And I'm just okay. And so Russell led the Steelers to points on 5 straight possessions. And for 37 points on offense, that was their highest total they've had in the last 3 years. So I think it was the right choice, but like you said, it was against a Jets defense. And so I don't think we should decide the starting quarterback based off the Jets. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's just kind of cool to see how each quarterback can benefit the team in different ways and what skills each one has compared to the other. So it's kind of cool that they kind of can pick, okay, who do we want to start this week based on the team they're playing. So I think it's kind of cool that they've got 2 quarterbacks that can kind of do stuff for them. What other team has that? Right.
Yeah.
Differentiate.
Right. Yeah. That decision made me wonder, would Wilson have started if it weren't for his calf injury in the start of the season? And how would the Steelers look right now? So if I'm Justin Fields, I'm going into next week going through practice, thinking I'm the starter for next week. I think that would be the best bet for him.
And there's nothing wrong with healthy competition. I think it just makes both better. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we saw that with this win.
That's going to make them both better. That's a good point to bring up.
Yeah, and like you said, the experience that Russell Wilson has, that he can kind of mentor Justin Fields, I think that's a really good connection too.
100%.
I can also agree with Aaron Rodgers being washed. And they bring up the points that he's he's playing against his older teammates who are now their coaches. I don't think that's a flex. I feel that's kind of okay, buddy, it's time to retire now. I don't know. I thought after the injury last year, I thought he was gonna be okay, let me bring it back down to earth. Let me go and do something else. I don't know. I think it's time. I think
at least he made it past the first game this season.
That's right.
That was
true.
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 Yeah.
So let's move on to our next segment. It's called Passing Attack, our board segment. So we've seen a couple of quality wide receivers moved around this season, some in the last week, very recent. So up to you guys, what has been your favorite quarterback wide receiver duo you've loved to watch? We're going to go Jenna, Hailey, Izzy, and then me.
All right, so my favorite duo to watch right now has got to be Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin. This duo is insane right now. They've only been playing with each other for a few seasons now, and the chemistry has just gotten better and better. If you looked at an interview, Chris Godwin said that him and Baker worked on their chemistry over the offseason. They built that strong connection, and you can really see it showing out on the football field right now. In the first 2 games of the season, Chris Godwin has been targeted by Baker Mayfield 16 times, and he caught 15 of those balls in those first 2 games. That's an insane percentage, insane stat. They're great together. I love to see it. The Bucks are just really fun to watch right now in general. So that's my take. That's my favorite duo right now.
So why pick Godwin over Evans?
Godwin went to Penn State. Godwin went to Penn
great
State.
answer.
Come on, guys.
That's the perfect answer. I would totally agree. The Bucks have really surprised me, and like the Mayfield and Godwin, and that's surprised me completely. So moving on to my picks, I went with Lamar Jackson and Zay Flowers. I mean, if you like football, you have to like Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is playing some of his best football right now. He has 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the year. That's the great rate. I mean, Zay Flowers only has 1 touchdown on the year, but he has over 400 yards. He's one of the most targeted receivers in the league. And I think we're going to see this duo play out throughout the season, leading into playoffs. Obviously, Ravens are a good favorite to go into playoffs and possibly even go to the Super Bowl. But I think we're going to see this. They play the Bucks tonight against Chris Godwin and Baker Mayfield. So we're going to see how these duos play against each other. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Flowers touchdown targeted tonight.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I really like that duo pick because I chose the other team. And so tonight we will see. Watch out because we'll see which duo is better tonight.
Duo? We'll see.
Yeah.
We will see.
Okay. For my pick, I saw this question and I knew immediately who I was going to say. So for my pick, I had to do the college duo of Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. I mean, 1 + 9 = 10, the perfect 10. They went to the championship in college football together in 2019. They won that. Everybody talks about how great that LSU team was, and the fact that you have a quarterback and a wide receiver playing together still on an NFL team, that's just amazing to me. And yes, Bengals are not having the best year that they can be having, but their offense is doing good. Their defense, maybe not, but their offense is doing great. Joe Burrow finds Jamar Chase. They're both having great seasons. Jamar Chase has 6 touchdowns. Joe Burrow, 14 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions just now in this season. They're both having one of the best seasons of their careers. Unfortunately, their team completely can't say that as well, but I love to watch these two, and I can't wait to see what's to come for them.
I completely agree with that. I mean, despite their record, they're no doubt one of the best duos to watch in the NFL.
Right. Nothing beats the college duo.
No.
Yeah, they're a fun duo, but not for my fantasy team, at least not in the beginning of the season.
So my duo, I feel like this season we can't not talk about them. It's Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson. This duo has been electric. Fans thought they were going to go 0-7 with their tough schedule. They are 5-1, and that loss just came yesterday. Jefferson is one of the best receivers in the whole league, and then you add Sam Darnold to that, match made in heaven. Justin Jefferson has 33 receptions for a total of 531 yards. He is also tied second in the NFL by touchdowns by a receiver with 5. And so then his QB, Sam Darnold, has thrown for 1,370 yards for 109 completed passes. This duo, they're going to keep getting better. I can see them scoring all the way to the NFC Championship. It hurts as a Niners fan, but we can all remember that one touchdown to Justin Jefferson all the way down the field, and I just can't wait to see what they do throughout the whole season.
Yeah, I like that pick. I mean, I never would have thought Sam Darnold would be having the season he's having.
No.
Definitely not. Justin Jefferson, though, amazing. Always been a fan of him.
I feel like Kirk Cousins left to go to Atlanta. They were like, who's going to step in?
Yeah.
And I think this is better than they could have imagined.
Yeah.
Vikings fans are
definitely.
very happy right now with Sam Darnold.
Again, that LSU team,
Yeah,
2019,
right.
they carried. I love them.
So now let's move on to blind comparison. So the 2 players are going to pop up, only their stats actually, and we're going to see what player we'd rather have on our team.
Okay. Sounds good.
Oh.
Okay.
10 touchdowns for player number 1, but 15 touchdowns.
Oh.
Ooh.
5
interceptions,
interceptions, 2
4
fumbles.
Ooh. I think I'm taking player 2. I like the rushing yards. I like the completion, and there's more touchdowns.
Yeah,
A higher
agreed.
completion percentage.
It's very important.
Not as many yards.
Yeah.
More fumbles. More interceptions.
So it looks like he could run
I
a little
take
bit.
one more interception over 5 touchdowns.
Exactly.
I feel.
Yeah.
I think that's a good
Yeah.
trade.
I
balance.
think that's a
Absolutely.
good
Okay.
We're going player 2.
All right.
Player 2.
Oh.
I love CJ Stroud. I should have picked
too.
player 1. I love
we
him.
should have known.
CJ Stroud.
He's so young. You can't even.
Mayfield's
you can't
playing
be
really
mad.
good in Tampa Bay right
Yeah,
now. Though.
yeah.
So
Both
I,
options are great.
They're
I'm
not
not
honestly.
No,
Yeah,
I would be
I'm
happy
not.
with both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But CJ
I do
Stroud,
love CJ Stroud.
I take CJ Stroud like in the next couple of years.
Okay.
Over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
next
Baker
5 years.
Mayfield's story's great. You
Yeah.
gotta be happy for the
Yeah.
guy.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, let's
right.
next one. Let's see. Okay, now we're on to running back.
Okay.
4 versus 5. 201 receiving yards
Okay,
to versus
well,
148.
Yeah, I'm
Quite the
obviously
difference.
going. I'm going with
I'm gonna-
player 1.
I'm gonna go with 1 too. There looks like there's a little
Yeah.
more versatility on player number
Right.
1.
I have to
yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Okay, reveal.
Who is it?
The reveal scares me.
Oh, he's
okay.
slept on. Bijan Robinson's really,
I
really good.
completely agree.
Love that guy. Great player.
Yeah.
Nick's getting a little too excited over there,
I think he, like, everyone talks about Kirk Cousins, but I'm like,
Yeah.
he is a huge part of the
Yeah,
Falcons'
he
success
is.
this season.
The
He
Falcons
is.
team looks so good, and he's like mainly the reason, other than Kirk Cousins.
but yeah, I'm happy with that.
All right. Yeah.
I would
You
also
made the
take
right
Jamar
choice.
Gibbs, though.
Yeah.
Okay, wide
Okay.
receiver.
Oh.
Wide receiver.
5 touchdowns versus 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Big difference.
And this one has more
receptions.
yards.
Boy.
Both great players, though. 85
Almost
yards per
15
game and
yards per
77.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good rate, but
That's huge.
I'm gonna take player 1.
I'm taking
Player
player
1.
I'll take the
yeah,
risk
they obviously
here.
have the better
Yeah.
stats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Yep.
Oh,
My
that makes
man,
sense.
Chris Godwin.
That makes sense.
Jenna called it.
Yeah.
Penn State
He
alum,
knew.
baby. CeeDee Lamb. I don't like Dallas.
I don't
Huge
like
Dallas
Dallas
hater.
either.
No.
We're happy with this pick too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I would not
happy.
pick CeeDee Lamb.
No. No.
We knew.
We knew.
You don't like Dallas.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to division leader toss-up. So I feel like division games are always one of the best games of the whole year. They play twice a year. These teams know each other. So we're going to look at some division leaders, and I want you guys to tell me if you think they'll stay on top for the rest of the season or fall down the rankings. So our first one, Washington Commanders at 5-2, the NFC East. Then we have your guys' Eagles at 4-2, the Cowboys at 3-3, and New York Giants at 2-5. So do we think Commanders are going to stay winning? Eagles take over?
Eagles are not taking over. I'm sorry. I'll be the first to say it. I'm an Eagles fan. Dad's got season tickets, but I'm going to be real with you. They're not going anywhere. They did have a really good game on Sunday against the Giants. The team did look really good. I'm not going to lie. Jalen Hurts looked better. A.J. Brown was going off. Saquon, obviously, you got to be happy for him. But the Washington Commanders, I really like them right now. I was a little worried for a second about Jaden Daniels after the injury, but I think I read he should be okay. I think he's going to play.
For his
So
ribs, he's good.
he's good.
His
He's
mom
fine.
tweeted he's fine.
Yeah. So I'm going to focus more on the Eagles. I just think they're not consistent enough. They've got Nick Sirianni's been making me mad lately.
Yeah.
Real.
I don't think this team's very good. So I think Washington will for sure win the division.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of that. I think Eagles can't really do much until we get rid of Nick Sirianni. So they're not
Say it
moving
louder.
up. They're not moving up. Washington Commanders right now, they are looking hot. Jaden Daniels, he's looking good. He looks like he knows what he's doing. He did get hurt, but I think he can come back. He is a rookie, so but I think they're good. I don't think Cowboys or Giants.
Let's take them out.
I don't think
no,
they're big of.
let's-
I don't
let's
think
kick
they're
them
too
out.
much of a like.
No.
I don't think they're too much of like anything to worry about. And then the Eagles, I do love them. They had a great game this weekend, but I just don't have my faith in them.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just a sad Philly sports
Yeah.
fans, but
It's just they're not consistent.
they're not.
So that's
No,
why
not.
one
Exactly.
week you're really happy, the next
Exactly.
week they're terrible. So
On paper, you have a bunch of good players on the
That's the
Eagles
other
team.
thing.
You have Barkley, Hurts, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown.
I know.
But this team can't get it together. I mean, like you guys said, like Nick Sirianni's got to go.
I think it's the
got
coach.
to go.
Yeah.
It's the coach.
But-
like he shaved his head. Like no,
He
why
was
would you
yelling at the fans, like,
Yeah.
yelling
I
at
think
the
all
fans?
Philly.
That's what makes me
Exactly.
mad. Don't do that.
But
Just take a breath.
Yeah.
He
One,
just
two,
feeds into
three.
the
Yeah.
media. He feeds into the media way too much.
He feeds into
They
the
d-
Philly personnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's too Philly. I just
Yeah.
At first I loved it, but now I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
can't
over it.
trust
It's
you.
not
Just win
yeah,
games.
It's not with it. No, but like the Commanders and the Eagles are going to play off like in week 11, I believe, is when they play. So we're going to see how this plays out. But the Commanders, I mean, everybody loves a good rookie story. I mean, Jaden Daniels looks so good. Brian Robinson, he's playing like one of the best running backs in the league right now. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I wouldn't necessarily completely count out the Eagles. Just because I think that when it comes to playoffs, I think they could pull it together. But right now, you can't say that the Commanders aren't going to just stay at the top of this division.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think there's no limit to Jaden Daniels' talent. I think it all depends on
LSU.
yes,
I
LSU.
just-
Yes.
She loves LSU.
Yep.
I do. LSU Heisman QB.
exactly. So I think if he can stay healthy, he is rookie. Like NFL hits are much harder than college hits, and if he stays healthy, I think the Commanders will easily win this division. I think might come down to Eagles or Commanders. Giants, Cowboys. Don't even worry about them.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next division. We have the AFC North. So the Steelers at 5-2, Baltimore Ravens at 4-2, the Bengals at 3-4, and the Cleveland Browns at 1-6. So, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that the Ravens could tie the division tonight if they beat Tampa. But I don't know. I really like the Steelers. Last night's game, I know it was against the Jets. I don't think the Jets are a bad team. I get their record doesn't really reflect that. But I don't think the Jets are a bad team. I think that was a really good win. I'm going to go with the Steelers. The Ravens, they had a rough start, but they've won the last how many games? They've won the last.
They started 0-2 and now they're on a 4-game win
Yeah.
streak.
If
So-
they win this game
they've been
tonight,
good.
Yeah, that's going to
Yeah.
look so good for them. I mean, the Steelers, I'm the first one to say I do not like the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've never have. But they have surprised me this year. I mean, if they could stay in this position, play like they did yesterday on a not so good Jets team, but a decent Jets team, I think they can continue to win games. But the Ravens with Lamar Jackson, you can't count Lamar Jackson out. And also, I want to highlight the fact that the Bengals aren't out of this race. I mean, they're 3-4. They look a little rocky, but I like Joe Burrow. I mean, another LSU. Joe Burrow, I like him as a quarterback. I'm not counting the Bengals out of this race either.
Like you're saying, I can't bet against Lamar.
No.
He has some
Yeah,
crazy plays and some big games. And Derrick Henry, too, he's an absolute beast. Came out of Tennessee and just running through the middle, like dodging people like it's nothing. So I think if they continue this run, they can easily win the division. Steelers, they have those two quarterbacks, good versatility, but I see Ravens winning it.
And the Browns.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm conflicted,
I-
honestly.
I
I
have-
just,
Yeah.
the Ravens, I don't know. They always tend to choke in the
Yeah.
playoffs. And so it's like, even if they make it there, what are they going to do? Probably nothing. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm conflicted. I could see
Yeah.
it going either way.
It could go
I don't
many
know. The
different
Steelers
ways.
might have to figure out their QB situation
Yeah.
if they want to
They got to
really
solidify that.
solidify that position. And I do believe that the Bengals, Joe Burrow, he's historically had
Yeah.
a really slow start into the seasons, and then he gets really good at the end. But they started 0-2. It might not work for them.
Yeah.
And then the Ravens, if they win tonight, that would be their 5th win in a row. So I don't know.
They're on a
I
hot
think
streak,
this is
no
like
doubt.
a rocky spot here. I think it's all up in
It can
the
go
air
both
right now.
ways, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Moving on to our last division, we have the NFC North. Detroit Lions at 5-1. They just beat the Minnesota Vikings, so they're 5-1 as well. Green Bay Packers 5-2. Chicago Bears 4-2. Wow, this decision we talked about last week, how it could be anyone's game. No undefeated teams anymore. What's up?
I wouldn't even know what to say, to be honest. I mean, this is just the best division in the NFL right now, no doubt. Bears are last and they're 4-2. Like I don't think we're like talking about that enough. I mean, after yesterday, Lions gave Vikings the first loss of their season, but both teams still look good, and it was because of a late field goal
It
that
was
they
such a
won.
close
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
You can't
The
even-
back and forth. I think they both have the potential, but I think the Packers and the Bears also look good. I mean, they're riding on like newer quarterbacks, but I think that all of these teams we could see in the playoffs quite
I think we
easily.
might see, we will see in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think we could all say, like, we don't think it's going to change. I mean, we do think it's going to change, sorry.
Yeah.
We don't think it's going to stay the same at all. It's going to change. Look at these teams.
I think Chicago can go
This
up,
looks
Green
too
Bay can
good.
be, like,
a lot can happen, okay?
I don't know. I have faith in the Detroit Lions. I feel like Detroit, I feel like the city itself, they want something.
They
I
want
feel like
something,
Jared Goff, he won something. They were so close last year.
100%.
I feel like they won something, and they're proving it this year. They were favorited in the preseason, and they're continuing to prove it. And this win over Minnesota, it shows it. Yes, it was a close game, but it shows it. But again, it's tight. It's a tight competition. So you never know, but I do have faith in Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. I can see them going far this year, and I do hope for them.
Yeah, I think the Lions I think their team has a lot of grit. Like you saw yesterday, they scored 21 unanswered points in the second quarter. So, like, you can just see, like, they didn't let it affect them because they were trailing by 10 after the first. And their only loss is to the Bucks, and the Bucks are a good team. So you can't even. I think there's a lot of room to grow, and I think that the Lions are going to be really well. Really good.
I think this division has great head coaches. You can obviously see from the record, but I don't think any compare to Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
Even without their top defensive player, Hutchinson got hurt, they beat the Vikings, and it was a close game, but they beat the Vikings. And Jared Goff is playing his best football, and they won big name games. They took on the 3-0 Seahawks. And so I don't see the Lions falling that short, and I think they have something to prove because the NFC Championship, they blew out that lead, and so I think they're just the underdogs.
100%.
Let's move on quickly to our Monday night football predictions. So we have two games, your Ravens and Bucks, and then Chargers and Cardinals. Who do you think is going to win? What are your score predictions?
So in terms of the Ravens and Bucks, the Bucks are good, but I think that the Baltimore offense looks too good right now. They dominate the league in rushing. They play well on the road. And the Tampa Bay defense gives up a lot of yards per game. So I think in this case, I'm going to go 31-17. Ravens win on the road. And for the Chargers and the Cardinals game, Chargers came off a bye. They beat the not-so-good Broncos. Cardinals are coming off a loss to the Packers, but I think Murray's going to lead the Cardinals. I'm going to say 20-10 Cardinals.
So Ravens-Buccaneers, I think that's going to be a great game. That's going to be the game I'm going to watch tonight. But I do think it's going to be a close game. It's two very good teams. I think it's going to be close. I have 27-24.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not the best with score predictions, so I have it close. So maybe by field goal, maybe by touchdown. We'll see. And then Charger versus Cardinals. Tonight's the, you know what's funny? It's Harbaugh night. It's both the Harbaugh coaches are, they're both playing tonight.
I didn't even realize
that's
that.
a fun fact. But for Chargers versus Cardinals, I have 17-10 with the Chargers winning. I just feel like the Chargers, I feel like they have a new coach. They have Justin Herbert as their quarterback. Like, I feel like they can win this game. They have a bye. They're coming off. They're rested. I think they could win this game.
So I'm going to start off with Chargers-Cardinals. I'm taking the Chargers. If you would have asked me weeks ago, I would have taken the Cardinals because I loved Kyler Murray and I thought Marvin Harrison was going to be this crazy good receiver. He's been a bust so far. I'm very disappointed in him.
He had so much potential.
Yeah, well, he still does. I think he's a great receiver, but I just think this season is just not looking good. But I'm going to take the Chargers by a score of 21-10. I think this is going to be like kind of a lower scoring game. I don't see too much happening. But yeah, he had Marvin Harrison Jr. had an injury, but it takes a while for him to, I don't know, he needs to get his speed back. He needs to come back and just dominate, and he's not doing that. So, yeah, I think it's going to take some time. Moving on, Bucks, Ravens, I'm taking the Bucks because I really like Baker Mayfield. But I think this game can go either way. I think it's going to be high scoring. I'm thinking it's going to be like 35-31. I think it's going to be very close, okay? Very close. Both offenses have been on fire. I'm taking the Bucks. I think they got this in the bag.
Yeah. I actually have the Ravens over the Bucks, 21-14. I just can't bet against Lamar.
No.
And then I actually have the Cardinals over the Chargers, 14-9. At hot takes, but
Definitely low scoring.
Definitely low scoring. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for tuning in to this segment. Tune in tomorrow for more.